guys watching, right? I begged them!
Thanksgiving Day 1999, two fishermen pull a barely conscious boy from the waters off the coast of Fort Lauderdale. The boy is found alone, clinging to an inner tube. Elian, his mother, and 12 others had fled Cuba 3 days before, but when their boat sank, only Elian and 2 others survived. The next day, November 26, INS grants his Miami relatives temporary custody. The Gonzalez family takes the boy to their Little Havana home. But on November 27th, from Cuba, Elian's father, Juan Miguel Gonzalez, demands his son be returned to the island. The battle for the 5-year-old boy ignites.
Definitely the station was at its best during the ELIAN Gonzalez saga. I covered that one closely, and for me it was personal. As a Cuban American, ELIAN Gonzalez, I knew the struggles that he and his family had gone through to get him here to this country, but then his father wanted him back.
January 5th, the INS recognizes Juan Miguel Gonzalez as Elian's legal guardian and says the boy should be quickly reunited with his father. Angry Cuban Americans paralyze traffic in Miami in protest over the decision. Dozens are arrested.
The Elian Gonzalez story was one that almost ripped the newsroom apart. We were all on heightened alert, and I remember breaking up several almost fistfights in the newsroom between employees who had difference of opinion about what should happen and when. It was an incredibly stressful time. It was a story where people cried, and as a manager and a leader of the team at that time, it was not to say you cannot have emotion around this, but it was to know that emotion, but also to make sure that our coverage was separate from the emotion. And that was a very hard thing to do.
So I was conflicted about the whole situation, and covering it, it was very difficult to try to be neutral, as I always try to be, no matter how I feel on the situation. So for me, I thought that we really did a service in this community when we covered that story.
Good afternoon, everyone. Events are changing moment by moment in the case of ELIAN Gonzalez.
And officials right now are trying to get his Miami relatives to voluntarily hand over the child to his father.
I'm just praying for this child. You know, that I pray that, he can stay in this wonderful country of ours.
I am here to support Elian. Everybody that's here tonight is really just giving it one last shot, and we're just really hoping.
I don't want to be selfish. I don't want him for me. I want what's best for him and what he wants. We've always, as a family, want him to be with his father and with his grandparents, but here, where his mom lost her life to bring him to, and I feel that this little kid really knows what happened in that ocean, and he's always asked us that he wants to stay here. Besides that, once I told him, wouldn't you like to be with your father and wouldn't you like to go there? And he looked at me and he said, my mom brought me here.
Janet Reno was the Attorney General, and she ordered the Elian to go back to Cuba with the father. They stormed the house.
Here comes the raid right now.
April 22nd, 2000, 5:14 a.m. Federal agents raid the Little Havana home of the Gonzalez family. Elian is seized.
Up against the barrier now! Get back! Get back up against the barrier now! You go! Get out now!
You guys watching, right? Let me go to the other side.
No, let's go! That way! Get over! Go!
Watch out.
Someone comes running to the back house running that the marshals were here. I personally didn't believe it. I got up, and when I looked I saw them coming, I locked the door. They got the boy inside the room with Angela and Donato. Ben, I was trying to help, actually. I wanted to get the camera guy to be able to catch this scene because, I mean, I could conceive that they were coming in the house with gun, shotgun, with a flashlight, telling everybody to stand down. The cameraman got knocked down to the floor, put a gun at his head. I grabbed Mary Lacey's, and Mary Lacey screaming, "Don't do it, don't do it, we'll hand the child over, don't do it."
I begged them, please, I'll turn in the boy, don't do this. I begged them.
They break the door down of her bedroom. She's screaming not to do it while she has a gun at her chest. Alan told me, the photographer, grabbed the boy with a gun, pointing at Elian. Elian crying. We saw Elian being dragged out by the federal agent.
The standoff between the Miami relatives and the U.S. government is over in just a matter of minutes.
Earlier this morning, federal agents in Miami began to reunite ELIAN GONZALEZ with his father and uphold the rule of law. As I speak, ELIAN is safe, and he is on a plane headed for Andrews Air Force Base in Washington, D.C., where he will be reunited with his father for the first time in 5 months. Juan Miguel Gonzalez wants to be with his son, and that will happen now. Law enforcement personnel were on the scene, were authorized to, and did make the final call as to when to enter the Gonzalez home, because this was a very carefully timed law enforcement operation. 8 agents were in the house during the operation. They were there for 3 minutes. During that time, a female agent picked up ELIAN and spoke to him in Spanish.
And before they did that, I stood in front of I don't know how many guns, and I opened my arms to them, and I cried and I begged, we're not gonna do anything, we'll give you the boy, don't let this happen like this. And they just broke everything. They treat us like criminals.
There were riots in Miami when ELIAN was taken away.
Tony, this is the last thing I can assure you that the Cuban-American leadership in this community wanted to see. The street's literally burning now. Another tire fire had been set right in the middle of 27th Avenue. Tear gas, John. Come back to us, Chaz, right now. Chaz, right now. They look like soldiers. They're firing tear gas to clear out the area.
And on that day, near Flagler and 27th, John Lang and I were tear gassed 4 times in one day.
Oh, we're getting tear gassed again. Just as you said that, some tear gas was...
So the police were trying to disperse crowds that were burning cars and burning tires, and we were right there trying to report on all this without getting hurt. The sensation of being tear gassed 4 times in one day, including a couple of times while we were on live television, and like, you know, all of your sinuses are draining and you're just in agony and you're on live television. That actually happened to us, and that's something I won't forget about the ELIAN GONZALEZ saga.
Obviously doing political maneuvers to please the Cuban government.
This has been a very emotional case for everyone involved. The most important thing is that ELIAN is safe and that no one was seriously hurt. As we all await the outcome of the appellate process, I think it is important for us all to accept ELIAN's long overdue reunion with his father. It is time to heal wounds that have divided the community. It is time to help this little boy heal from the tragedies that he has experienced.
Tonight, Judicial Watch now joins in the Miami relatives' fight to keep ELIAN in the United States. More protests in Little Havana as time now runs out on ELIAN Gonzalez's stay in the United States. A last-ditch appeal to the United States Supreme Court on Monday.
With legal avenues exhausted and several courts siding with the Justice Department and Juan Miguel, 6-year-old ELIAN Gonzalez boards a plane headed for Cuba, 7 months after his saga began.
If we had to do it all over again, we would. ELIAN's mother wanted him to live in the United States, in freedom.
I did it for one reason. I thought the little boy belonged with his father.